Roman gladiators would drink each other's hot blood after killing them. This wasn't barbarism, it was seen as medical treatment. But why, as the sun set over the bloody sands of the Colosseum, a scene unimaginable to modern minds would unfold? Roman gladiators would lean over their fallen opponents in the arena, collecting their still warm blood with their cupped hands and drinking it. While this image appears barbaric through today's lens, it was completely normal for Roman society of that era, even considered medically necessary. During the imperial period, Rome possessed one of the world's most advanced medical knowledge systems. However, this sophistication was sometimes intertwined with beliefs and practices that modern logic cannot comprehend. Gladiator blood consumption was one of the most striking examples of this strange mixture. Roman physicians absolutely believed that gladiator blood possessed special medical properties and used it in treating serious diseases. The roots of this belief lay in the deepest philosophical and medical thoughts of ancient Rome. Romans believed that the human body consisted of four fundamental fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. The balance of these fluids was the key to health. Disease meant the disruption of this balance. Gladiator blood was considered the purest and most powerful type of blood because it came from brave and strong warriors, especially for epilepsy patients. Gladiator blood was seen as a miraculous medicine. According to records by Roman physician Pliny the Elder, the most effective method to stop epileptic seizures was drinking fresh gladiator blood. This belief was so widespread that wealthy Roman families attended gladiator games, not only for entertainment, but also to procure blood. For sick family members, when a gladiator died in the arena, the blood collection process would immediately begin. This procedure was not done randomly. Specially trained individuals would expertly collect blood from the dead gladiator's body. Maintaining the blood's temperature was critically important, because Romans believed that blood lost its medical properties as it cooled. Therefore, blood collection occurred immediately after the gladiator's death, sometimes even while they were taking their last breath. The medical logic behind this practice, while completely wrong from today's scientific perspective, was quite sophisticated for that era. Roman physicians thought that gladiators' physical strength, courage, and combat skills were concentrated in their blood. They believed these qualities could be transferred to sick individuals, thus viewing gladiator blood as a kind of strength and health transfer tool. The blood drinking ritual was not limited to disease treatment alone. Some gladiators would drink their opponent's blood to try to add their strength to their own. This practice was especially common among experienced gladiators. They believed they gained a piece of strength from each opponent they killed, thinking this would make them even stronger in the arena. Different layers of Roman society approached gladiator blood in different ways. The wealthy patrician class would drink blood in gold or silver bowls during special ceremonies. During these ceremonies, the gladiator's life story would be told and his courage and skill praised. The belief was that connecting with the gladiator's spirit would enhance the blood's effectiveness. Middle-class Romans used blood in more practical ways. Family physicians would prepare elixirs by mixing gladiator blood with other medical materials. These elixirs were used not only for epilepsy, but also for anemia, weakness, and various mental illnesses. The poor, however, had developed more creative methods to access gladiator blood. When a gladiator died in the arena, some brave individuals would collect sand and extract blood stains from it. They would mix this bloody sand with water and drink it, trying to gain a share of the gladiator's power. Blood collection had gradually become an organized trade. Professional blood collectors had developed techniques for collecting blood from warriors who died in gladiator games. These individuals knew which gladiator's blood was more valuable and priced accordingly. Blood from experienced and famous gladiators sold for much higher prices than that from novices. The trade in gladiator blood had become part of Rome's economic system. Blood was bought and sold at values more expensive than silver by weight. This situation led some gladiators to attempt self-injury to sell their blood. However, this fake blood was quickly detected as it didn't have the effect of real combat blood, and sellers received severe punishments. Roman physicians' theories about gladiator blood were quite detailed. Famous doctors like Galen argued that blood from different types of gladiators was good for different diseases. For example, it was believed that blood from Retiarius net using gladiators was good for mental illnesses, while blood from Thrax, sword and shield using gladiators, was good for physical weakness. These beliefs had also affected the social dynamics of gladiator games. Spectators didn't come to the arena just for entertainment. Many people came hoping to procure blood for sick relatives. Therefore, during gladiator deaths, a strange atmosphere of joy and excitement would form in the arena. Death was both the climax of entertainment and the beginning of medical hope. The gladiators themselves knew these beliefs and behaved accordingly. Some would make special requests for their blood to reach valuable hands when dying. Some experienced gladiators would leave detailed instructions about the blood collection process, trying to ensure their blood was used in the best way possible. The psychological dimension of this practice was also quite interesting. People who drank blood didn't just expect physical healing. They believed they also acquired the gladiator's courage, strength, and combat skills. This belief could create a placebo effect, actually alleviating symptoms of some diseases. Women in Roman society were also involved in gladiator blood consumption. Especially women who couldn't give birth believed that gladiator blood would increase fertility. Pregnant women would drink gladiator blood so their unborn children would be strong. These practices were officially recommended by physicians specializing in women's diseases. Gladiator blood was also used for childhood diseases, but a more careful approach was taken. Gladiator blood given to children was usually diluted with water or mixed with other medicines. There was concern that small children couldn't handle gladiator strength. Imperial families were not exempt from gladiator blood usage either. In fact, the highest quality gladiator blood was usually reserved for the imperial family. Special gladiators were raised and trained for the imperial family's medical needs. Blood from these gladiators was considered much more valuable than those who died in ordinary arenas. Besides blood consumption, other body parts of gladiators were also used for medical purposes. Their livers, kidneys, and even bone marrow played roles in treating various diseases. However, blood was considered the most popular and effective among these. The Roman army also tried to benefit from gladiator blood. Before battles, soldiers would be given small amounts of gladiator blood, thinking they would fight more courageously and strongly. This practice became widespread, especially before critical battles. The geographical distribution of gladiator blood usage was also quite interesting. In different regions of the Roman Empire, unique practices emerged by blending with local cultures. In the Gaul region, gladiator blood rituals combined with Celtic traditions gained a more mystical dimension. Druids would prepare powerful elixirs by mixing gladiator blood with sacred tree saps. In Spanish provinces, gladiator blood was consumed mixed with local wine. Spanish physicians believed wine enhanced the effect of gladiator blood. This mixture was especially popular among elderly patients because its taste was thought to be more acceptable. In Britain, gladiator blood usage was more limited, but here blood gained different meanings as part of warrior culture. British warriors would use gladiator blood in pre-battle courage rituals. For them, blood was not only medical but also a spiritual source of power. In eastern provinces, especially Greece and Anatolia, gladiator blood usage was blended with ancient Greek medical tradition. Physicians following Hippocrates' teachings would evaluate gladiator blood within the framework of body fluids theory. In these regions, blood was analyzed with more scientific approaches and systematically combined with other medical materials. In the Egyptian province, gladiator blood had intersected interestingly with mummification tradition. Egyptian physicians believed that gladiator blood became more effective when combined with certain substances used in the mummification process. Therefore, in Egypt, gladiator blood was usually prepared mixed with natron and other mummification chemicals. In African provinces, gladiator blood was combined with traditional African medicinal plants. Berber physicians had developed unique treatment formulas by mixing gladiator blood with dessert plant extracts. These mixtures were especially used for diseases caused by desert climate. The classification of gladiator blood according to different gladiator types was also quite detailed. It was believed that Murmillo gladiator's blood was good for bone diseases, while Secutor gladiator's blood benefited muscle weakness. Blood from bestiarious animal hunter gladiators formed a special category, thought to provide protection against wild animal attacks. Blood collection process techniques had also become sophisticated. Over time, professional blood collectors had learned from which body part of the gladiator the blood was more effective. Blood flowing from the heart region was considered most valuable, while blood from hands and feet was seen as lower quality. Therefore, anatomical knowledge was of great importance during blood collection. Blood storage techniques had also developed. Romans knew that gladiator blood was most effective when fresh, so they developed methods for rapid processing and distribution. Blood was preserved in special ceramic containers, cooled with ice and salt mixtures. This technique allowed blood to stay fresh for several days. Some wealthy Roman families would dry gladiator blood using special methods and turn it into powder. This blood powder could last a long time and be used when needed by mixing with water. Preparing blood powder was quite a complex process that could only be done by the most experienced blood processors. Various methods had been developed to test the quality of gladiator blood. Experienced blood merchants could determine blood quality from its color, smell, and consistency. Fake or spoiled blood could be easily detected through these tests. Quality gladiator blood should be bright red in color, have a metallic smell, and possess a certain viscosity. The social dimension of blood drinking rituals had also become quite developed. Wealthy families would organize blood drinking ceremonies and invite guests to these ceremonies. During these ceremonies, the gladiator's life story would be told, his achievements praised, and the battle from which the blood was taken would be described in detail. It was believed that these narratives enhanced the blood's effect. Among Roman women, gladiator blood usage had gained a special dimension. Women who used gladiator blood for beauty and youth preservation also applied it in skin care. Blood would be applied to the face as a mask, believed to rejuvenate the skin. This practice was especially popular among elderly aristocratic women. During pregnancy, gladiator blood usage was done even more carefully. Pregnant women would drink blood from certain types of gladiators during specific pregnancy periods. Murmillo blood in the first 3 months, Thrax blood in the second 3 months, and Retiarius blood in the last 3 months. This system was believed to develop different characteristics in the baby. Gladiator blood applications for childhood diseases were also quite specific. Different dilution ratios had been determined for children of different age groups. For newborns, blood was diluted with water at a 1:10 ratio, for school-age children at a 1:5 ratio. These ratios were calculated according to the child's capacity to digest gladiator strength. The imperial family's gladiator blood usage was conducted with special protocols. Gladiators specially raised for the emperor were fed with specific diets and prepared with special training. Blood from these gladiators would cost 10 times more than ordinary arena gladiators, but their effect was believed to be proportionally higher. The military use of gladiator blood had also become systematic. In Roman legions, special mixtures prepared from gladiator blood were given to soldiers before major battles. These mixtures not only increased soldiers' physical endurance, but also boosted their morale and courage. Centurions and higher-ranking officers would receive more concentrated blood mixtures. Blood economy held a special place in gladiator schools. Gladiator trainers would implement special nutrition and training programs to increase the value of their students' blood. Blood from a well-trained gladiator was much more valuable than that from an amateur. Therefore, gladiator schools also functioned as blood production centers. Veteran gladiators, those who managed to survive in the arena for long periods, could see their blood reach legendary values. Blood from these gladiators was especially sought after by the wealthy who struggled with aging and fear of death. Some veteran gladiators would make their living during retirement by regularly selling blood. There was even a price index for gladiator blood. Blood prices in different regions of Rome varied according to gladiator quality, season, and supply-demand situation. In summer months, blood prices would drop due to more frequent games, while they would rise in winter. These price fluctuations caused blood merchants to make speculative investments. Fake blood trade became so widespread that the Roman state had to establish official blood control units. These units would control the quality of blood in the market and punish fake blood sellers. Fake blood sales were considered a serious crime in Roman law, with punishment being exile or death in the gladiator arena. International trade in Gladiator blood had also developed. Blood shipments were made from Rome to distant provinces of the empire. Special transportation methods were developed for these shipments, and complex logistics networks were established to prevent blood spoilage. Blood transportation had become one of Rome's most profitable trade branches. Abuses related to gladiator blood were also widespread. Some gladiators would deliberately injure themselves to gain more profit from blood sales. This situation caused arena managers to implement strict controls. Gladiators' blood donation frequency was regulated and rules were established to prevent excessive blood loss. Various additives were used to increase the medical effectiveness of gladiator blood. Honey, wine, herbal extracts, and even powdered precious stones were added to blood mixtures, believed to enhance the effect. Preparing these mixtures required special knowledge and could only be done by experienced physicians. In Roman mythology, gladiator blood held special meaning. It was believed that the blood of Mars warriors carried divine power. This belief elevated gladiator blood consumption to a religious dimension. In some temples, special offerings of gladiator blood were made during ceremonies dedicated to Mars. Gladiator blood also had an astrological dimension. Roman astrologers believed that blood from gladiators who died during different zodiac periods had different effects. Blood from gladiators who died in Leo was thought to increase courage, while those who died in Pisces were believed to heal spiritual diseases. Therefore, blood buyers would also consider the gladiator's death date. The use of gladiator blood also reflected Rome's social stratification. While the patrician class obtained the highest quality blood, the plebs class had to settle for lower quality or diluted blood. The slave class could usually only use blood residues or versions mixed with animal blood. The use of gladiator blood in women's diseases was especially widespread. Gladiator blood was prescribed for menstrual irregularities, infertility, difficult birth, and menopause symptoms. Female physicians argued that blood from different types of gladiators would have different effects on the female body. In anti-aging treatments, gladiator blood held a special place. Aging Roman senators and wealthy individuals would undergo regular gladiator blood cures to preserve their youth. These cures typically lasted 3 months and included blood intake at specific doses and intervals. The use of gladiator blood in mental illnesses was also common. Melancholy, madness, and mental confusion were among the main treatment methods using gladiator blood. Physicians believed that the gladiator's mental strength would pass to the patient through blood. Gladiator blood applications for child development also existed. Weak or slow-developing children were given diluted gladiator blood to ensure their growth and strengthening. This practice was especially common among male children because they were expected to become warriors in the future. The use of gladiator blood in skin diseases was also popular. For eczema, psoriasis, and various skin rashes, blood was applied directly to the skin or added to bath water. Although this practice had no scientific basis, visual improvements were reported in some patients. The use of gladiator blood against hair loss also existed. For the baldness problem common especially among men, there are records of gladiator blood being applied by massaging into the scalp. Although the effectiveness of this treatment was questionable, the practice continued widely. Athletes seeking to improve athletic performance also used gladiator blood. Athletes competing in various sports in Rome would try to improve their performance by drinking gladiator blood before competitions. This practice was especially common in chariot races and wrestling competitions. Effects of gladiator blood on artistic creativity. were also believed in. Poets, sculptors, and painters would consume gladiator blood to enhance their creativity. These artists believed that the gladiator's fighting spirit and creative energy would pass to them through blood. Commercial life also saw gladiator blood usage. Merchants would try to increase their courage by drinking gladiator blood before business deals. This practice was especially common before risky investments or difficult negotiations. Political uses of gladiator blood were also noteworthy. Senators and political figures would try to increase their power by drinking gladiator blood before important speeches or difficult political struggles. This practice would intensify especially during election periods. During Rome's decline period, gladiator blood usage gained different dimensions. During the empire's difficult periods, people began to resort to gladiator blood more frequently. During times of economic crisis, wars, and epidemics, blood demand would increase. The use of gladiator blood as diplomatic gifts also existed. Rome would send special gladiator blood gifts to allied kings and princes. These gifts were a way to show Rome's power and sophistication. Among barbarian tribes, gladiator blood usage developed in different ways. Germanic tribes developed unique practices by blending gladiator blood with their own war rituals. For these tribes, gladiator blood was a way to connect with Roman culture. The foreign trade value of gladiator blood was also high. Rome would export gladiator blood to China, India, and distant regions of Africa. This export not only spread Rome's cultural influence, but also provided economic gain. Technologies developing for gladiator blood conservation were also noteworthy. Various chemical substances began to be used to keep blood fresh for long periods. Salt, vinegar, and various herbal extracts were used as preservatives. Legal regulations related to gladiator blood also became complex over time. Blood quality standards, sales permits, and tax regulations were developed. Roman law contained detailed laws regulating blood trade. In the late Roman Empire, gladiator blood usage gradually decreased. The spread of Christianity, the end of gladiator games, and the development of medical knowledge were the main reasons for this decline. However, underground blood trade continued for a long time. In modern archaeological excavations, evidence related to gladiator blood has been found. Special blood vessels, blood processing tools, and written documents about blood sales prove the reality of this practice. These findings clearly show the importance Roman society placed on this practice. In conclusion, the tradition of Roman gladiators drinking blood was not merely a medical practice, but the product of a complex belief system, social hierarchy, and economic structure. This tradition deeply reflects the ancient world's understanding of the human body, health, and power. Although it seems meaningless today, these practices offer critical clues for understanding Roman civilization's worldview and value system. History, even with its strangest details, reveals humanity's constantly changing quest for health and healing.